just gonna preface this by saying that SpongeBob SquarePants just beat Aquaman and the New York Yankees in the exact same weekend. That's the timeline we're in, everybody. Hey, how goes it, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. Yeah, no, not gonna lie, I'm still reeling at the fact that SpongeBob vs. Aquaman is a thing that exists now. I know I mentioned as much already, but it's still so surreal that SpongeBob is even on the show in the first place. It's still a pleasant surprise to be sure, don't get me wrong, especially with this matchup compared to SpongeBob's other options on the table. An absurd, goofy idea for an absurd, goofy character, and I wouldn't have it any other way. This was just a recipe for the episode to end up being dumb fun, and that's what I was excited for most. Hell, I was so excited that I went into the episode blind, something that I almost never do. But was it all worth it? Was dumb fun to be had? Well, how's about we dive into the episode and take it piece by piece? Leading off with the little yellow star, sponge of the show, I really enjoyed SpongeBob's rundown. It was just nice to hear them talk about the things he's done and the world he lives in. What can I say, it's one of those simple pleasures in life, you know? Bonus points for starting off by covering the Bikini Atoll theory. That's just a neat touch. On top of that, this was just a really funny analysis. From the black boxes, to the cutaway, to Wiz's descent into madness over SpongeBob's Toon Force. Hell, little things like Wiz's what the fuck and Boomstick's tangent over goddamn Squid Baby. I just couldn't help but have the biggest grin on my face throughout the whole thing. As for Aquaman's side of things, yeah, they do lean into the whole bit about him being lame, but I'm glad that they don't play it up as being out of spite. Rather, it's presented as Wiz and Boomstick being disappointed they couldn't find any crazy, world-shattering feats or whatever, and that he's about to die to motherfucking SpongeBob. It's comedic, but it never feels like it's wholly at Arthur's expense. And hey, they still give him as fair of dues as they can, particularly with the Rokan feat. Plus, I really liked the note at the end from Wiz about how what makes Aquaman a hero isn't how powerful he is, but rather the strength of his character. It's just a really nice way to cap things off. Overall, not as high of highs in this part of the analysis, but I still feel like I came away having had a good time with it. But now we get to the pièce de résistance, that fight. For starters, it opens with Aquaman falling out of a portal, which they proceed to never explain throughout the rest of the fight, and accusing the first person he sees of being a villain. I mean, I guess they gotta get the characters to fight somehow, so yeah, sure, I guess. At least we got a nod to Mermaid Man, SpongeBob's hall monitor face, and they even threw in MY LEG! Actually, just in general, they throw in a ton of little references and Easter eggs from throughout SpongeBob's history, and I think they're all implemented pretty well, helped along even further by Tom Schalk's incredible SpongeBob impression, like, my god. That's not to sell Keston Howard as Aquaman short. Admittedly, I do wish they leaned a bit more into that 60s corniness, but that's not a deal breaker at all, because I think their performance is great here. Anyway, yeah, Aquaman goes on the offensive, and I love this still frame of him going to throw a punch. It's just perfectly cheesy. And, of course, his attacks don't actually do anything until he adds water to them, because SpongeBob is just too squishy for him. Hell, if anything comes from him throwing that first punch, it's that Bikini Bottom just turns back to normal instead of being still on fire? Yeah, okay. SpongeBob dons his karate gear and messes up Aquaman's name, which is a fun little bit that doesn't overstay its welcome. Plus, I really like the little comic-style cut-ins for each hit that lands. It's just a neat little touch that's perfect for both characters. Then Aquaman tries to use his telepathy on SpongeBob to no avail, only to get the wind knocked out of his sails by the cruise bubble, and he gets sent flying into a building, which, Jesus Christ, the damage that alone causes! It isn't totally for naught, though, since some electric eels come in before SpongeBob can blow another bubble, and do the closest thing resembling significant damage to the little yellow guy. Though all it does is lead to SpongeBob duplicating and the Great Neptune line, which has to be the funniest bit of the entire fight for me. SpongeBob absorbs the entire ocean, depowering Aquaman in turn, and it leads to a solid character moment between the two of them. Arthur looks into different universes, only to be shown how underwhelming he is in comparison to all of their Aquamen, and it nearly breaks his spirit. But SpongeBob empathizes with him, saying how for so long, no one around him took him all that seriously either, but he still picked his head up each day, ready for what may come. This motivates Arthur to pick his own head back up, taking his trident from the portal with newfound resolve to keep fighting. It's a really wholesome and heartfelt moment, and I'm really glad that we got something like it in this fight. So after the water gets restored, we get some Trident versus Pencil action, with SpongeBob creating an army of Doodlebobs, but Aquaman powering through and breaking the pencil, devising a solution just in time before SpongeBob erases his arm off. And I love how Aquaman's plan was just to create a door to send SpongeBob to the other side of the universe. Like, his immediate thought was, nope, yeah, this is my only option here. Brilliant. Of course, that's not enough to keep old SpongeBoy down, so he rockets back to Earth from the edge of the universe, which spurs Aquaman to gather the entire ocean for one last attack, as they both resolve to prove themselves as true heroes. And the shot of Arthur firing the sea at SpongeBob is great and cool, and all the other adjectives. Yeah, I know Super Friends Aquaman shouldn't be able to do this kind of thing, but also, shush. But then SpongeBob touches down, stock nuke footage and all, and instead of doing a little happy dance or rushing to tell his friends that he literally just vaporized a guy, he cries next to Aquaman's body, clearly not having intended for things to get this far. But Arthur tells him not to cry, and says that they should be super friends, as his ashes scatter on the ocean current. SpongeBob picks up the remains of the magic pencil, and pays his respects by drawing Arthur a little memorial, showing that he was in fact number one, and while he mistakenly calls him Ocean Man, given the reverence that song has in the context of SpongeBob, I can't think of a better compliment. I can't understate my love for this ending. It doesn't sacrifice the characters for a second, and it makes for a really sweet way to cap off the animation. Heck, I even got kinda choked up watching it for the first time, and I still do on rewatches. Gold marks all around. And since they already established how much of an obscene stomp this was, the conclusion is primarily focused on more comedy, lampshading the whole "this is an incredibly close fight" bit, Wiz's continued mental breakdown, SpongeBob being the fastest calculable character in the show's history, and the SpongeBob beats Goku joke does get a chuckle out of me each time. Goes to show that 30 billion is actually overkill, I guess. A fun way to cap off an already fun episode. And what an episode it was, my goodness. Time has its ways of mellowing me out on certain episodes, but I'm confident that this one's gonna end up standing the test of time, especially when it gave me everything I was hoping for and then some. Yes, it does feel like another case of Character A featuring Character B, and the track, while fun, didn't alleviate that, but when you're dealing with one of the biggest cartoon icons on the planet, did you really expect it would go any other way? And all of the accolades prior to the episode's release, absolutely warranted. This was incredible. Yeah, honestly, I just don't have anything else to say here. Like, I don't have words to express how much I loved this episode. Good God. Something I can express my thoughts on, however, is the next time, which, holy shit, they're actually doing Jason vs. Michael. About damn time we got some horror movies on this show, and what better way to start than with the quintessential horror matchup? And what better time than now to do it? It's the 13th episode falling on Halloween just as the new Halloween movie comes out. The stars couldn't have aligned better. Sure, I haven't seen any of the Friday the 13th or Halloween movies, so I don't really have any personal connection to this one, but that doesn't make me any less excited for this episode. Everyone wants this one to be the live-action fight of the season, and I'm definitely everyone. I just hope that they go the route of Crypt TV rather than Ismahawk, because it's not like they're any strangers to doing versus content for horror characters, and I'm sure that they would be chomping at the bit to do this matchup. Regardless of how it's done, I'm just excited for the chance to see a modern death battle tackle some good wordless storytelling. I live for that shit, you do not understand. I know the obvious grab is having them stab each other, then tilt their heads as they see that the other is unaffected, but it's the obvious grab because it's a good fucking idea. Man, I'm just so excited. I can tell that this is gonna be a hell of a good time. I can feel it in my bones. But that's future me's job, because it looks like it's time to call this video here. Thank you, as always, for making it this far if you're still here, and I will see you in the next video. Stay safe out there, and have a good one!